Hi, I'm Yadga and welcome to this first video for the Magic Mirror project, in which we'll use the built-in graphic effects to distort, recolor, and adapt our photos. We're doing this in the Snap programming language. The Snap programming language window is divided in three parts. On the left-hand side, you find what we call the palette, and this is where all the blocks are sorted in different categories. The blocks is what you use to program in Snap. On the right-hand side, you find what we call the stage. So the result of what you program is displayed on that stage. And then in the central area, we have what we call the scripting area, and this is where all your programming is happening, because you can click on all the blocks in the palette, but if you want to make more complex scripts, you might want to build them here in the central area. So let me open a new project so we can start fresh. And as I said, we want to distort photos of us. So the first thing we need to do is get a photo. In Snap, we have something that we call a costume, and it's an image that the object that you're programming, the sprite, can wear. And you can create costumes from the Costumes tab up here. And if you click on it, you see this webcam icon. And if you click on that, it will open a window that displays your webcam. If you do this for the first time, you need to allow your browser to access the webcam. Now the camera, my webcam, is displayed in this window here, and I can take a photo of me as a costume for the sprite when I click on the Save button. If I'm not happy with this photo, I can just take another one, and I can take as many as I want, and you can see that a sprite can have several photos or photo costumes in here. And now that I'm happy with the first one I took, I can just click on Cancel to close this window again. Let's go back to the scripting area and explore the built-in graphic effects that we want to use. Everything that has to do with the way your costume looks, or your sprite looks, is in the Looks category. It's the purple one. You can just click on the Looks category, and now you see that all the blocks in here are purple. The one that we want to use now is called Set Effect. Careful, there's another block, the Change effect, that we're going to use for the second part of the project, but now we want the Set block. This block has two what we call parameters or inputs, so two things where you can decide how the block is supposed to work. The first one is a drop-down menu, so when you click on here, you can select from a range of graphic effects. And the second one is a number. This is where you can type in a value to determine how much you want to apply the effect. So for example, when I click on the ghost, when I select 50 for the ghost effect and click on the block to execute it, you see that my picture gets kind of grayish. This is because the ghost effect makes the picture transparent. If I set the ghost effect to 100, it's fully transparent. To get it back, you can use the Clear Graphic Effects block that you can also find in the Looks category. Clicking on this will reset all graphic effects. Let's explore some other graphic effects in the block. For example, we have a color effect that doesn't do much when I click on it with value of 100, but I can try other values. Let's start with 20, then I'm getting kind of green. Let's do 40, still kind of green, but more bluish. Let's do 60, really blue, 90, very pink. So this one just shifts the colors in the photo along a color band. And when I'm again doing 100, I'm getting the original photo back. So this is on a scale from 0 to 100. And then we have other graphic effects that have to do with the coloring of the photo, saturation and brightness, but we also have graphic effects that distort the photo. Let's go with the fisheye effect first. What this does is it applies a fisheye camera or a fisheye lens on the photo. If you put in positive values, the center of your photo increases and the margins of the photo get smaller. If you type in a negative value, some of the effects also take negative values. Let's do -30, for example. The reverse thing happens, so the center of the stage is getting smaller, or the photo is getting smaller, and the sides of the corners of the stage are getting larger. And then the last one I wanted to try is the whirl effect. You can try all the other effects for yourself. And the whirl effect also works in both directions, so I can use negative values. Let's do -200, and then I'm getting a whirl in one direction. If I type in 200, I'm getting the same whirl but in the other direction. So you can whirl your face starting from the center of the image. Now it'd be cool to do this interactively. There are several ways how you can interact with your computer, and you can access them through the sensing category. A very easy one is the mouse X and Y position. If I check the boxes here, I can read out the current values for X and Y position from the watchers on the stage. You see, when I move my mouse across the stage or even across the snap window in general, those values change. And you see that they're very close to 0 when I'm at the center of the stage. So somewhere here around my eye is the origin of the coordinate system, 0, 0 for X and Y coordinate, and then X values get larger to the right and smaller and negative to the left, and Y values get larger when I move upwards, and then they get smaller when I move downwards. I can also access these values from the mouse X and Y position blocks. If I click on this, I'm getting a very small -586 X position. And I can use this block and use this value as an input to another block. So for example, I can drag this block here over the input to the whirl effect block, and when this white rectangle appears and I release this block, the block goes inside the input slot, and now if I click on it, I'm getting the whirl effect of where my mouse currently is, which is very whirly. It's X -556. Let's clear this again. Now it'd be super nice to do this automatically all the time, because whenever I move, I want to adjust the graphic effect that I'm applying. To do things repetitively, we can use something that is called a loop. You can find loops in the control category. Those are the yellow blocks that control the flow of your program. And loops are all C-shaped. They have these like C-shaped input slots, and there are different types of loops. And in this case, we just want to use the forever loop that repeats everything inside here just indefinitely. And you can take this other block and drag it in here. And now, if you run this script, then you can see that it's running because of the halo around it. Now you can move your mouse across the stage and across the snap window. And when I'm moving it left and right, you can see that the graphic effects change. Since we also have a white position, so I can move up and down too, I can pick a second graphic effect and adjust that based on the mouse white position. In this case, I maybe want to use the fisheye effect, and I want to grab the mouse Y block and move it in here too. So now if I'm moving left and right, I'm getting the whirl effect, and if I'm moving up and down, I'm getting the fisheye effect, and if I'm moving top right, I can apply both of them. So now I have a fisheye effect, but it's also slightly swirly because of the whirl effect. Same happens if I go to the bottom left. Okay, this is pretty cool. Now let's remove those two things and let's try it in full screen. If I start in full screen, I can't really trigger the script anymore, so we can add something that we call a hat block. You can find them in the control category too. Those are the blocks that have this wavy shape on the top. That is supposed to indicate that you can't add blocks on top of that, and the blocks below it get triggered whenever what's written on the hat block is happening. For example, I can use the when the green flag is clicked block. And now if I go into full screen mode and click the green flag, I can run my project in full screen. If you like a photo so much that you want to keep it as a picture, you can export it. The problem is you have to now stop the script without clicking the red flag. Like if you click on the red stop sign, your script stops, but now it's in the position where the where the stop button is. So if I want to keep it in this position, I can press the escape key to stop the script from running. And now I can right click the stage to download a screenshot of the stage to the downloads folder of your browser. I can call this distorted Yadgar. And now this is in the downloads folder of my computer, and I can use it and print it as a picture and keep it. Have fun with this first part of the Magic Mirror project, and I'll see you for the second part with the live video feed in a bit.